Over the last 18 months, we've been working with our communities here locally around issues of waste consumption and the circular economy, using the arts and creative practice to really engage people in a gentle, fun, open and explorative way. The purpose of the project has really been to have conversations within the Derry City and Strabane District Council area and start to gently approach these quite big topics. A lot of times when it comes to climate action, climate change, even terms that are very appropriate like climate emergency can be off-putting for people. So what we've tried to do is use the art, use creative practice and use storytelling in particular to break down these issues, move away from the science and the jargon and kind of meet people where they're at.
Please forage when you're going along, because that's my favourite thing to do, just pick a leaf.
The council has been very active in the last number of years in trying to transform the way that it handles waste within the council area, but there is a recognition that the council acting alone on a policy basis only does so much if we don't have sort of an understanding and a buy-in on a community level. So the Artitude project was conceived to support this process of behavioural change.
The climate and ecological crisis can seem very big, it's a very global issue, but what Artitude has been brilliant at doing is bringing people together collectively and really exploring what that issue means to them. What does it mean to you if you live here in Derry and Strabane? What does it mean for our local environment, our rivers? What does it mean in our homes? And it's made it really relevant to local people, which then creates that sense of ownership and activism as well, but also really crucially, art can be really important in creating that sense of hope.
We had the amazing Artitude Festival, which was a really great weekend celebration. There was space for serious issues as well, and people absolutely engaged with that, but it was also a space where people could just come together.
What's wonderful about this weekend here is all the connections, is the possibility of making connections. As activists, we can be really, really busy, and it's really hard to fit in what we're doing in our particular area of activism, and it's really hard to find time to link up with others.
You have so many people sharing the same ethics and values, coming together in one space. We're all weaving that web of connection.
And I appreciate that the law is not the answer for a lot of people.
We feed into each other's abilities for understanding what is happening in a wider sense in terms of regulation, in terms of climate, in terms of almost a systemic breakdown of the systems that are supposed to be here to protect us.
This is a wonderful sanctuary, but also a very productive place where people, families and all sorts of people come and spend time, grow things, make things. And it's a brilliant setting for something like this.
Some people will absorb messaging through something they've read or something that's presented to them, or piece of information that they've seen on news. But actually the arts can engage you in a more creative way and in a very different way. So some people need to have the visual, some people need to have the sound, some people need to have the movement. So what the arts does is it allows that messaging to be communicated in a variety of formats.
Whatever you say nothing when you speak about you know what. For if you know who should hear you, you know what you'll get.
Language is such a wonderful, beautiful thing. It reveals so much about how a culture thinks. In Irish, how you're not sad or you're not angry. Anger is upon you or sadness is upon you. So you don't define yourself by the emotion. It's just something that could be in you today and you tomorrow.
Is Misha Cara McLaughlin, Tommy Igobber, Culturelani Canine, Le Catherine, on Chanskadal Dryhead.
We also worked with communities in one-off kind of smaller ways. We were lucky enough to work with the Dryhead Irish language learners. They worked with us looking to see those connections between the Irish language and the land, and whether understanding those connections can help us rebuild our relationship with nature a little bit better. We took the group out into the Sperrin Mountains here locally. There's been a lot of campaigning and activity up in the Sperrins around issues around extractivism and gold mining in particular.
They said their mine will be 900 metres deep into the earth, so they'll go down, they have to dig out thousands and thousands of tonnes of rock, but once that rock is taken out of the mine and exposed to the air and to water, it will produce sulfuric acid.
These are the maps that show how much of the land in the south And the north has been concession for exploration already.
We also worked with the local artist, Vincenzo Girovice. Vincenzo works with the art of mapping and counter mapping and kind of uses mapping tools to help us to look at the world around us a little bit differently.
My mum is from around here, so I have a very emotional connection to the land. All of us, we love this place, but we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we love about it? We love it because of what it is and what it looks like and what we breathe and what we drink and what we see every day.
We do it for the water! Nobody wants y'all here. Save down cold water! Get down! We do it for the water! Get down! On the ground!
The key moments of the festival that really summoned up the ethos and the aspirations of the partners were those moments where the performances and the performers embodied the commitments that we wanted to encourage. These are people of deep integrity. What they do is trigger in us a desire to revisit our own Indigenous traditions.
Language has always been very important to me, and I realised I've gone years and years of my life without ever learning any of the birds' names or any of the trees' names, and so it was through that learning that I started a process of reconnecting to nature.
That is a little boatman. They do this looping movement where they're kind of curling their bodies up and then expanding them again.
People are very keen to talk about their sense of place. They're very keen to talk about story of where they were born, the wildlife that has disappeared, the wildlife that they grew up with. And I think the story is very important, and giving people a chance to tell their story, whether it's a personal one within the environmental movement, is something that's really builds a community and builds a movement.
We have the Use Less shop, we have a toy library, cloth nappy library. We're engaging with people in all kinds of ways. What we want to do is working with the artists' communities to work with people on taking charge of our own places.
To see the zero waste stations is great. All the allotments and the planting their own vegetables, it's great. I mean, we're going to take some of that away, hopefully to home, and maybe a bit of a vegetable patch at home as well.
We've got a compost bin at the house, and we've got like a vegetable patch a bit at the house. And
we're going to try and expand on that, and I think we're going to pick a section of the garden now and let it go wild.
Some bees.
For the wildflowers, for the bees. I think that's what our next step is going to be.
We worked with an amazing group of 9 to 12-year-olds for a full week. They came in here to the Playhouse. We used play and art and colour and performance and dance and music and all of these activities to start to educate them around these topics of waste and consumption.
We're making a mermaid out of the sand, so we're mixing it here to make it like wet. And then we're going to put the plastic that we found onto the mermaid to make it look nice. So thinking of ways that you could reuse the plastic.
We got litter pickers, we went in a bus and we started picking up litter, and we did like a bingo.
The whole reason for doing workshops in a different way is that there's a long-lasting change. So it's all about the process. It's never really about the outcome. It's about what you've learnt along the way.
The young people made their own posters encouraging people to reduce their plastic waste, for example, and we brought them down to Guildhall Square and kind of displayed them to the public and encouraged people to come and chat with the young people and ask them why they were there and what their message was.
It's fantastic. It's great to see so many families, young families around here enjoying the outdoors and learning about the importance of the environment.
Kids really learn as they do. My kids are in there doing the forest school workshop. They're in there learning about nature, bugs, trees, but they don't even really understand how much they're learning because they're having so much fun doing it.
Steady on, one at a time.
We're talking about water bottles and straws, reusable straws and different ways of having parties without balloons and things like that. So the stories are focused on children like themselves, lots of litter on the beach and what they do about it. It's kind of sneakily teaching the parents or reminding the parents what's important.
The place we live is enchanting. Life is enchanting itself, and it's crazy that we're here in this abundance, but it's recognising the abundance that I think we find hard, and the lives we lead are so cut off, not just from nature but from each other.
So can you see just there?
There's something really special about a group activity of gathering and learning and becoming confident with identification as a group, because we learn so much from each other. Every time I take one of these walks, there is always 2 or 3 people who will tell me a fascinating story that is only oral tradition that's come from their granny or their uncle or something like that.
Acorn Farm have been working with groups in Strabane and in Derry City around growing their own food in particular, and encouraging people to sort of move away from needing to buy vegetables wrapped in plastic, and encouraging people to think a little bit more carefully about where their food comes from. So we partnered with them in a couple of workshops around food waste.
I'm going to show you vegan kimchi. Anybody can eat it, you know what I mean?
Our work is around supporting people living sustainably through food, through finance, through mental health and well-being. We're standing in our fantastic community allotment garden. It's about learning the new cultures, bringing our own mixed cultures together into our gardens, into our green spaces. It's just about growing, but it's also about the learning and the social impact that it has.
They've been cutting vegetables, they've been using different colours, been using different spices. The most important part of today is the social connection. It's a really fun, practical way to preserve food and to reduce food waste.
It's not just about making individual changes to our behaviour, but it's how we can work together to make genuinely transformative changes that benefit everyone.
There's authenticity in the stories of this project and of the members of the network, and actually there's multiple stories to tell. This is not just something that is learnt and retained within this region, but actually we create a legacy by pushing out this learning on a Northern Ireland, All Ireland, UK and European basis.
Artitude has really expanded my experience, and we've now moved on to do other artist projects as well, so it has been invaluable to me in my role. You've almost 800 people participating in Artitude, coming to events, getting engaged in workshops and repairing things, and that in itself, in terms of creating awareness and behavioural change, has been absolutely crucial for what we hope to do, which is create a more ecologically sound city and district.
We've laid a really excellent foundation for what is hopefully to come in the future of the project. There has been work going on in the ground for so long that people hadn't heard of, but you put it in the context of a festival, you bring in creativity, you bring in storytelling, you bring in music, you bring in performance, and then it opens up to people. Then it's something they can connect with, then it's something they begin to understand and build a relationship with.